Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Numerics with Nadia. Today we're going to go over how to add and subtract fractions with the same denominator. So we did a basic overview last lesson, but let's go over the components of a fraction again, just to refresh our memory. The number on the top is our numerator, right? And then the number on the bottom of the bar is our denominator. So our fraction is made up of a numerator and a denominator. And in today's lesson, we're going to go over how to add and subtract fractions with the same denominator. So with the same denominator, what we can do is add our numerators together and then carry the denominator through. And what does this mean? What is Miss Nadia talking about? We're going to go through, and just like our lessons before, we're going to do examples both visually and conceptually, and we're going to start this time with conceptually. And this concept of adding the numerators together and carrying the denominators through, the same would apply for subtraction, right? Instead of adding the numerators together, what we'll do is we'll subtract them and then also carry the denominator through. This might be a little bit confusing at the moment, but we're going to practice this, and right, practice and repetition is really going to help us out. So let's practice this by doing a few examples. To start, let's do something simple like 1/5 plus 1/5. Now what are we going to do here? We're going to look at our denominators. And our denominators are the same, right? They're both 5. So in this case, we're going to apply the rule that I described above, right? So we have the same denominator. We're going to look at our numerators now. We're going to add our numerators together. Our numerators are 1 and 1. So we're just going to keep the numerators together. We're going to add the 1 and 1 to get 2. And our denominator is just going to carry through, so we get 2/5. Let's do another one. Let's keep this going. So in our next one, we're going to do 2/5, right? What we just got before. What happens if we add 2/5 to 2/5? So same as before, we have to distinguish if this problem has the same denominator, which it does. They're both 5. And just like before, we're going to look at our numerators. We have 2 and 2. So we're going to add the 2 and the 2 together. So our new numerator is going to be 4. And then our denominator, we're going to carry it through, right? We're not touching it. The 5 will stay the same. So 2/5 plus 2/5 gives us 4/5. Let's try this out with another one. What happens if we have 1/10 plus 6/10? Now, before our first two examples, our denominators were the same and our numerators were the same, right, if you'll notice. But here, our denominator are the same, but our numerators are different. So just like before, same denominators, they're both 10. Here, though, we're going to add 1 and 6 together. Our numerators are different, but the same rules apply. 1 plus 6 gives us 7, and our denominator carries through. And for this last one, let's do 2/9 plus 4/9. So again, kind of like part C, same denominator, different numerators, but it's okay if our numerators are different. As long as we have the same denominator, the same rule applies. So we'll take our 2 plus the 4, that's going to be our new numerator. 2 plus 4 gives us 6. And our denominator of 9 is just going to carry through. So all of these examples we're adding, and we would just add our numerators together, carry the denominator through. Now we're going to do a few of subtracting just to make sure that we understand the concept as a whole. The rule is the same, but instead of adding now, we're just going to subtract. So let's do this with a few more examples. So for the first one, let's do 4/5 minus 1/5. So just like before, we have to make sure we have the same denominator. They're both 5. And now our numerator, we're going to subtract 4 minus 1. 4 minus 1, we know that that will give us 3. And then our denominator will just carry through. So our answer, 4/5 minus 1/5, would give us 3/5. Let's do another one. We'll have 8/10 minus 3/10. And same rules apply. We'll make sure that we have the same denominator. They're both 10 here. And now, since we have the same, we can just subtract our numerators. So we have 8 minus 3. 8 minus 3 would give us 5 for our new numerator. And then our denominator of 10 will just carry through. So our new answer, 8/10 minus 3/10, would give us 5/10. Let's do another example. For this one, we'll have 5/7 minus 2/7. So same steps as before. We're going to just keep repeating this so it becomes easier and easier for us. We have the 7s, same denominator. Our numerators, will subtract them. We have 5 minus 2. Our numerator, 5 minus 2, will give us 3. Our 7s will just carry through. So 5/7 minus 2/7 will give us 3/7. And last problem for these subtracting problems, we'll do 9/10 minus 8/10. So again here, let's make sure our denominators are the same. Same denominators, they're both 10. Now we'll look at the numerators. We have 9 and 8. So we'll do 9 minus 8. That'll give us 1. And our denominator, just like the rest of them, will just carry through. And then these were all of our subtracting problems. So now that we've gone over the concepts and we've done some adding and subtracting problems, let's also go through this visually, right? What do all these fractions look like, and what does subtracting and adding them visually look like? So a lot of times this will be represented using pie charts, and what we need to do is know how to determine the fraction from a pie chart. So the first thing you would do is look at how many slices it's cut into, and in this one, it's cut into 6 slices, and depending on how much is shaded in, that would be the numerator of our fraction. So let's do some examples of this. We're going to do an adding one to start. And just like before, we have the same pie charts. Our pie charts are still cut into 6 pieces. And what I'm going to do in this first part is shade in the numerator, right? The part that we are interested in, the part of the whole, right? Remember in our first lesson, a numerator is the part, the denominator is the whole. We know our denominator already. It's cut into 6 pieces, and I am shading in the part that we're interested in for the numerator. So try it on your own. What does it look like that first pie fraction would be? How many slices did I shade in? Think of that while I shade in the second one. So now we're going to transfer what these pie charts look like, make them numerical, and then do the same steps we were doing before. So I had shaded in two slices of that first pie. So that would mean the whole pie was cut into 6 pieces. I shaded in 2. So our first fraction would be 2/6, and the same goes for the next one. The next one would be 1/6. And this goes to the same steps that we were doing before. We have to make sure we have the same denominator, which we do. They're both 6. We would add our numerators together. 2 plus 1 gives me 3. So then we'll get 2/6 plus 1/6 equals 3/6. And also, it's really helpful to be able to show that visually as well. So we had 2 slices, we added 1 more slice, we're gonna have 3 slices total. So we're gonna shade in 3 pieces of this circle, which actually kind of looks like 1/2, right? And we'll go over why that is an equal fraction and all of those things in a later video. But for now, we're shading in the 3 pieces because that's what we got when we added these 2 fractions together, and I'll go through and label that for us just so it gives us a complete picture of what we just did. Now that we've done an adding example, let's do a subtracting example. Just like in our adding example, we're given a pie chart here, but our pie chart looks a little bit different this time because this time it's cut into 5 pieces, right? So we know it's cut into 5 pieces. Let's go through. Miss Nadia is going to shade in our problem here. We're going to shade in to see what fractions we're subtracting. We know our denominator is 5, but what are we subtracting here? So we're going to translate what we're visually given from our pie charts into our fractions. So our first pie chart has 3 shaded in, and we know our denominator was 5 because it's cut into 5 pieces, right? So our first fraction would be 3/5. Same thing applies for the next one. We have 1 part shaded in out of our whole was 5 pieces, so our next fraction would be 1/5. Now let's subtract it. We're going to use the same steps that we used in our earlier examples. So we're going to make sure that we have the same denominator. We're going to look at our numerators. Our denominators are the same, they're both 5. We look at our numerators, we have 3 minus 1, that's going to give us 2. So 3/5 minus 1/5 is going to give us 2/5. And we're going to go through and shade that in as well to make sure we visually can see what it looks like. We had 3/5 to start, we took 1 of the 5ths away, we're left with 2/5 at the end. And that will wrap up our basics on adding and subtracting fractions with the same denominator. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video where we will go over how to add and subtract fractions with different denominators.